So there he slept, the much-enduring, patient Odysseus, conquered by sleep and weariness, but Athene came to the country and city of the Phaeacians. These Phaeacians had once lived in the broad lands of Hyperere. These Phaeacians had once lived in the broad lands of Hyperere, and been neighbours of the Cyclopses, a domineering people, who used to take advantage of their greater strength to ravage their land, till the day when the godlike Nausicaa took them and settled them in the Sciri, or it could be Skiri, far from ordinary hard-working people. There he laid out the walls of a new city, built houses, put up temples to the gods, and divided the land up cultivation. But he had long since met his fate and gone to Hades' halls, and it was now the divinely inspired Alcinous who ruled them. To his palace the bright-eyed goddess Athene made her way, intent on her plans for the great-hearted Odysseus' return. The mighty Alcinous had a young daughter called Nausicaa, tall and beautiful as a goddess. She was asleep now in her richly decorated room, with two of her maids, both blessed with beauty by the Graces, lying asleep by the doorposts, one on either side. The polished doors were closed, but Athene swept through like a breath of air to the girl's bed, leant over her head and spoke to her, taking the form of the daughter of a ship's captain named Dymas, a girl of Nausicaa's own age, and one of her closest friends. In the form of this girl, bright-eyed Athene said, "Nausicaa, how did your mother come to have such a lazy daughter as you? All your shining clothes have been left lying about neglected, but you may soon be married and need beautiful clothes, not only to wear yourself but to provide for your bridegroom's party. That is how a bride gains a good reputation with people, which brings great pleasure to her father and her mother. Let us go and do some washing together the first thing in the morning. I will go with you and help, so that you can get it done as soon as possible, because you certainly won't remain unmarried long. Every nobleman in Phaeacia, where you yourself were born and bred, wants you for his wife. Ask your royal father in the morning to have a wagon made ready for you with a couple of mules. It can take the sashes and robes and bright rugs, and it would be much better for you yourself to ride than to go on foot. It's a long way from the city to the washing pools." When she had finished, bright-eyed Athene withdrew to Olympus, where people say the gods have made their everlasting home. Shaken by no wind, drenched by no showers, and invaded by no snows, it is set in cloudless, limpid air, with a white radiance playing all over. There the blessed gods spend their days in pleasure, and there the Lady of the Bright Eyes went, when she had spoken to the girl. Soon after, Dawn enthroned herself in the sky, and woke up Nausicaa in her lovely gown. She was amazed at her dream, and set out at once through the palace to tell her father and her mother. She found them both in the house. Her mother was sitting at the hearth with her ladies, spinning yarn dyed with sea purple, and she met her father just as he was going out to join the distinguished princes at a conference to which the Phaeacian nobles had called him. She went close to her dear father and said,
"Father dear, I wonder if you could tell them to get me a high-sided wagon with strong wheels, so that I can take all the fine clothes that I have lying about dirty to the river to wash. And indeed it is only proper for you yourself, when you are discussing affairs of state with important people, to have clean linen on your back. Then there are 5 sons of yours in the palace, 2 married and 3 active bachelors, who are always asking for clothes straight from the wash to wear at dances. It is I who have to think of all of these things."
She spoke in this way because she was too shy to mention to her father the subject of marriage, and all it promises, but he understood completely and replied,
"I don't grudge you the mules, my child, or anything else. You may go, and the servants shall get you a fine, high-sided wagon with a hood to it."
He called to his men, and they obeyed. While they prepared a smooth-running mule cart outside, led the mules under the yoke and harnessed them to it, Nausicaa fetched the gaily coloured clothing from the room and packed it in the polished wagon. Meanwhile, her mother filled a box with various kinds of appetizing provisions and delicacies to go with them, and poured some wine into a goatskin bottle. The girl climbed into the wagon, and her mother handed her a golden flask of soft olive oil, so that she and her ladies could rub themselves with it after bathing. And now Nausicaa took the whip and the gleaming reins, and flicked the mules to make them start. There was a clatter of hoofs, and they stepped out eagerly, taking the clothes and their mistress along, but as her ladies followed and kept her company, she was not alone. They reached the lovely river with its never-failing pools, in which there was enough clear water always bubbling up and swirling by to clean the dirtiest clothes. Here they harnessed the mules and drove them along the eddying stream to graze on the sweet grass. Then they lifted the clothes by the armful from the wagon, carried them to the dark water, and trod them down briskly in the washing pools, vying with each other in the work. When they had rinsed them till no dirt was left, they spread them out in a long row along the seashore. They spread them out in a row along the seashore, just where the waves washed the shingle clean as they came tumbling up the beach. Next, after bathing and rubbing themselves with olive oil, they took their meal at the riverside, waiting for the sunshine to dry the clothes. Presently, when mistress and maids had all enjoyed their food, they threw off their headgear and began playing with a ball, while Nausicaa of the white arms sang and kept time for their game. She looked like Artemis the archeress, coming down from the mountain along the high ridge of Taygetus or Erymanthus, for the joy of chasing the wild boar or the nimble deer, and the nymphs of the countryside, daughters of Aegis-bearing Zeus. More of them, my God, man, keep it in your pants. Join with her in the sport. And her mother, Leto's heart is gladdened, because she is a head taller than any of them, and even though all are beautiful, there is no question which is she. So did this young girl stand out among her maids. When she was about to yoke the mules, and fold the beautiful clothes, and set out for home, the bright-eyed goddess Athene had other ideas, and arranged for Odysseus to wake up and see this lovely girl, who was to serve as his escort to the Phaeacian city. Accordingly, when the princess threw the ball to one of her maids, it missed her and fell into the deep eddying current. At this they all gave a loud shriek. The noble Odysseus awoke, and, sitting up, wondered to himself.
"What country have I come to this time?"
he said with a groan.
"What people are there here? Hostile and uncivilized savages, or kindly and God-fearing people? There's a shrill echo in my ears as though some girls were shrieking. Nymphs who haunt the steep hilltops, the springs of rivers and the grassy meadows? Or am I by any chance among human beings who I can talk as I do? Well, I must go and use my own eyes to find out."
So the noble Odysseus crept out from under the bushes, and after breaking off with his great hand a leafy bough from the thicket to conceal his I'm not sure that's going to help, man. To conceal his naked manhood. Then he advanced on them like a mountain. Oh yeah, this is just going to look so amazing. You coming out of the bushes completely naked, trying to cover your dick with a branch. Then he advanced on them like a mountain lion who sallies out, defying wind and rain in the pride of his power, with fire in his eyes, to hunt down the oxen or sheep or pursue the wild deer. He's going to look so bad. Forced by hunger, he will even attack flocks in a well-protected fold. So Odysseus, naked as he was, made a move towards these girls with their braided hair. Necessity had compelled him. Grimy with salt, he was a gruesome sight, and the girls went scuttling off in every direction along the jutting spits of sand. Alcinous' daughter Nausicaa was the only one to stand firm. Athene put courage into her heart and took the fear from her limbs, and she stood her ground and faced him. Odysseus considered whether he should throw his arms around the beautiful girl's knees and beg for help, or just keep his distance and beg her with all courtesy to give him clothing and direct him to the city. He decided that, as the lady might take offence if he embraced her knees, it would be better to keep his distance and courteously plead his case. I think that's a good idea. In the end, his address was both courteous and full of subtlety.
Princess, I am at your knees.
Figuratively speaking.
Are you some goddess or a mortal wooden?
Wooden? Woman.
Or a mortal woman? Or...
Oh, fuck. I can't get the mental image out of my head.
If you are one of the gods who live in the wide heaven, it is of Artemis, the daughter of Almighty Zeus, that your beauty, grace, and stature most remind me. But if you are one of us mortals who live on earth, then thrice blessed indeed are your father and your lady mother, thrice blessed your brothers too, how their hearts must glow with pleasure every time they see their darling join the dance. But he is the most blessed of them all, who, with his wedding gifts, can win you and take you home as a bride. Never have I set eyes on any man or woman like you. I am overcome with awe as I look at you. Only in Delos have I seen the like, a fresh, young palm tree shooting up by the altar of Apollo.
Wait, are you comparing her to a tree now?
When my travels took me there, with a fine army at my back that time, though the expedition was doomed to end so fatally for me. For a long time I stood spellbound at the sight, for no such sapling ever sprang from the ground.
He is comparing her to a tree.
And it is with just the same wonder and veneration that I look at you, my lady. And I dare not clasp your knees, though my sufferings are serious enough. Only yesterday, after 19 days, I made my escape from the wine-dark sea. It took all that time for the waves and the tempestuous winds to carry me here from the island of Ogygia. And now some god has flung me on this shore, no doubt, to suffer more disasters here. For I have no hope that my troubles will come to an end. The gods have plenty in store for me before that can be. Pity me, princess. You are the first person I have met, after all I have been through, and I do not know a soul in this city or this land. Do direct me to the town and give me some rags to put around myself, if only the cloth wrappings you may have brought when you came here. And may the gods grant you your heart's desire. May they give you a husband and a home, and the blessing of harmony, so much to be desired, since there is nothing better or finer than when two people of one heart and mind keep house as a man and wife, a grief to their enemies, and a joy to their friends, and their reputation spreads far and wide.
Please give me clothes,
Sir,
said the white-armed Nausicaa.
since your manners show you are not a bad man or a fool, it is Olympian Zeus himself who assigns good fortune to men, good and bad alike as he wills, and must have sent you your personal misfortune, and you must just endure it. But now, since you have come to our country and our city here, you certainly shall not want for clothing or anything else that an unfortunate suppliant has the right to expect from those he meets. I will show you the way to the town and tell you who we are. This country and the city belong to the Phaeacians. I myself am the daughter of great-hearted Alcinous, who is the source of the might and majesty of the Phaeacian people.
Here she turned and called out to her maids.
Stop, girls. Where are you flying to at the sight of a man? Don't tell me you take him for an enemy. There is no man on earth, nor ever will be, who will dare to set hostile feet on Phaeacian soil. The gods are too fond of us for that. Remote, we are at the edge of the world and come in contact with no other people. This man is an unfortunate wanderer who has strayed here, and we must look after him, since all strangers and beggars come under the protection of Zeus. And to such people a small gift can mean much. So give him food and drink, girls, and bathe him in the river where there's shelter from the wind.
The girls stood still, each urging the others on. Then they led Odysseus to a sheltered place where he could sit down, as Nausicaa, the daughter of the great-hearted Alcinous, had ordered. On the ground beside him they laid a tunic and cloak for him to wear, and giving him some soft olive oil in a golden flask, They told him to wash himself in the running stream. Then the good Odysseus said to them,
Ladies, stand back over there and leave me to wash the brine from my shoulders and rub my body with olive oil. It's a long time since olive oil has touched my skin. I am not going to take my bath with you looking on. I should be ashamed to stand naked in the presence of elegant ladies.
At this they withdrew and told their young mistress about it. Meanwhile, with river water, Odysseus was washing off the salt that encrusted his back and his broad shoulders, and scrubbing his head free of the scurf left there by the barren sea. When he had thoroughly washed and rubbed himself with oil, and had put on the clothes which the girl had given him, Athene, daughter of Zeus, made him seem taller and sturdier, and caused the bushy locks to hang from his head thick as the petals of a hyacinth in bloom, just as a craftsman trained by Hephaestus and Pallas Athene in the secrets of his art puts a graceful finish to his work by overlaying silverware with gold. She endowed his head and shoulders with beauty. When Odysseus retired to sit down by himself on the seashore, he was radiant with grace and beauty. Nausicaa gazed at him in admiration and said to her beautiful haired attendants,
Listen, my white-armed girls, to what I am saying. This man's arrival among the godlike Phaeacians was not opposed by all the gods of Olympus. When we first met, I thought him repulsive, but now he looks like the gods who live in heaven. I wish I could have a man like him for my husband. If only he were content to stay and live here.
Not another one.
But come, girls, give the stranger something to eat and drink.
Her maids at once carried out her orders and set food and drink before the stalwart Odysseus, who ate and drank with avidity, for it was a long time since he had tasted any food. Nausicaa of the white arms now turned her mind to other matters. After folding up the clothing, she stowed it in her fine wagon, harnessed the strong-hooved mules, and herself climbed in. Then she called to Odysseus,
Come, sir, and make a move towards the city, so that I can direct you to my good father's house, where I can assure you that you will meet all the Phaeacian nobility. But this is what you must do, and I take you for a man of understanding. So long as we are passing through the country and the farmers' lands, walk quickly with my maids behind the wagon and the mules, following me. But once we come to our city, it is surrounded by high battlements. It has an excellent harbour on each side and is approached by a narrow causeway, where the curved ships are drawn up to the road, and each owner has his separate landing place. Here is the people's meeting place, built up next to the fine temple of Poseidon, with the blocks of quarried stone bedded deeply in the ground. It is here, too, that the sailors attend to the rigging of the black ships, their cables and sails, and smooth their oars. For the Phaeacians have no use for the bow and quiver, but only for masts and oars on the graceful craft they take pride in sailing across the grey seas. Now it is their unpleasant gossip that I wish to avoid. I am afraid they might give me a bad name, for they are supercilious people, and I can well imagine one of the cruder ones saying after he had seen us, Who is this tall and handsome stranger with Nausicaa? Where did she find him? Her future husband, no doubt. She must have rescued some shipwrecked foreigner who had strayed this way, since we have no neighbours. Or perhaps some god has answered her insistent prayers and stooped from heaven to make her his forever. And it is better that way, better that she should look around and find a husband from abroad, for she obviously despises her fellow Phaeacians, though so many of the best would like to marry her. That is how they will talk, and my good name would suffer. Indeed, I should blame any girl who behaved like that, who behind her family's back, while her parents were still alive, associated with men before being properly married. So listen carefully to my directions if you want my father's help for your homeward journey as soon as possible. You will see near the path a fine poplar wood sacred to Athene, with a spring welling up in the middle, and a meadow all round. That is where my father has his estate and fertile garden, within calling distance of the city. Sit down there and wait a little till we can get into the town and reach my father's house. When you think we have had time to do so, go into the city yourself and ask for the palace of my father, the great-hearted Alcinous. It is quite easy to recognize. Any little child could show it to you, for the houses of the rest are not built in anything like the style of the palace of King Alcinous, my father. Directly you have passed through the courtyard and into the buildings, walk quickly through the great hall till you reach my mother, who sits in the firelight by the hearth, spinning yarn dyed with sea purple. A marvellous sight, with her chair against a pillar and her ladies sitting behind. My father's throne is close to hers, and there he sits drinking his wine like a god. Slip past him and clasp my mother's knees if you wish to see the day of your homecoming and rejoice, however far away it is. For if she is sympathetic to you, you may confidently expect to see your friends again, to reach your own fine house and your native lands.
When she had finished, Nausicaa used her shiny whip on the mules, and they soon left the flowing river behind them, their legs weaving a pattern as they trotted steadily along. She drove so as to allow the maids and Odysseus to keep up with her on foot, and used her judgment in laying on the whip. As the sun was setting, they reached the famous grove and sacred place of Athene. Here the good Odysseus sat down and prayed to the daughter of Almighty Zeus.
Hear me, Atritone, unwearied one, child of Zeus who bears the Aegis, and hear my prayer this time. You turned a deaf ear to me once before, when I was shipwrecked, and the great earth-shaker shattered my raft.
She didn't, actually.
Grant that the Phaeacians may receive me with kindness and compassion.
Pallas Athene heard his prayer, but still refrained from appearing before him, out of deference to her father's brother Poseidon, who persisted in his rancour against the noble Odysseus until he reached his own land.